Good afternoon once again, family and friends, friends and family, all of the above. Welcome to another episode of Rob the Rich, Free to Pour, coming to you, live from beautiful downtown Long Beach. I feel very Mr. Rogers' neighborhood as I put on my apron and welcome you to the Home Bar, the product of global pandemics and an interest in cocktails. What do we got? Some new guests today. Ooh, the Klopps, Mike Klopp from New York now. Old Irvine friends. All right, so this week's episode is cocktails featuring blended Scotch, single malt Scotch, kind of an underused spirit. I, being mostly a bourbon person, as you can see on the back bar, there's a lot of bourbon back there and rye. Those are kind of my jam. I just like the flavor of it, but the smoky peatiness of Scotch it sometimes is a little tricky to work with. It's great by itself, you know. If you like that flavor, you can I prefer it rocks. I don't like to drink it neat. You know, you can put a little cold water in there, but it's too strong of a flavor, so I like to keep it cold. I have this bottle of Johnny Walker Double Black that was donated by my lovely parents, so Mom and Dad, thank you so much for some of the blended Scotch that we're going to be using on today's episode. So, the first one I'm going to do with you, because it calls for crushed ice, I'm going to do it first. It's called the Myra Breckenridge, and that's a 1968 movie starring Raquel Welch about someone who undergoes a sex change operation. So this one, created by Phil Ward in 2008 from Death & Company, he says he created it as what he termed it as a sex change for Laphroaig. Laphroaig is one of the smokiest, the peatiest scotches, single malt scotches that there are. Very quick primer on what is Scotch versus bourbon versus Canadian versus... All Scotches are whiskey, but not all whiskey is Scotch. Just like bourbon has to be created here in America, Scotch has to be created in Scotland. If it's a single malt Scotch, it has to be made 100% from malted barley, and it has to come from one distillery, single distillery, malted barley, henceforth, single malt Scotch. In case you're ever wondering, why the hell do they call it that? Well, that's why they call it that. Tons of documentaries on YouTube and other places if you want to know more. All right, so let's giddy up. We're going to start with, it says 2 ounces of Laphroaig. I might have to cheat this a little bit on the Laphroaig because I need just a tiny bit of it for, I'm going to have to go... Yeah, I'll have a float because the Penicillin cocktail I'm gonna make needs a float on there. So I'm gonna do it's pretty close. We're gonna get pretty close to 2 ounces. It's not super expensive, but as you can see, this is like we probably bought this a year ago. Like, you know, it really it's a really strong. It's a beautiful flavor. Oh my gosh, it's so smoky and so peaty. Really interested to see where this cocktail goes. I've never done this before. 2 dashes of absinthe. This is a Japanese dasher bottle, so you have to double. So we're actually going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and a little bit more. So this is just absinthe from. It's a kind of a cheapy absinthe. You know, they're all kind of have similar flavors. 3/4 ounce of fresh lime juice. I promise you, I freshly squozed all of this, but I wanted to do it beforehand just to kind of keep things moving. So we're going to drop that fresh lime juice in there, and then a 1/2 ounce of turbinado simple syrup, demerara, whatever you want to call it. Mine is just made from sugar in the raw, half sugar in the raw, half water, and just get that going. So we'll drop our simple syrup in there. I probably should have done the simple syrup first, and then the lime juice and the whatever. That's the I don't even know what I was going to say. That's anyway. I'll just move on because my words. No, I'm tired from the weekend, so I don't even know what I was going to say, you guys. Oh, and then Mr. Growing, he's talking about Ardbeg. Oh yes, Ardbeg is another beautiful one. Now he says to dry shake, but what I'm going to do is kind of like this is a cheater that you kind of do with tiki drinks instead of blending them. It's called a whip shake. So I just put 2 ice cubes in the shaker, and we're going to shake it up. Got to hold it pretty tight. There's only 2 ice cubes in there. We just kind of want to get this one going. Oh, that's right. I was supposed to substitute. That's why. I know why. I know why my words got tripped up because I was going to use the Johnny Walker. Okay, we're good. All right, and then so once again, this is the Myra Breckenridge. We're going to pour this over crushed ice. Very beautiful. And he says to garnish with mint, but I don't have mint, so I'm gonna do a little fresh rosemary. And there was lime in there too, so I'm gonna garnish with a little lime too. Why not? Just for fun. Let's do a little lime on the side there. And we've got my version of the Myra Breckenridge. Here we go. Oh my God, he is on to something here. Yeah, as my good friend, Mr. Michael Grogan, as you've said there, yeah, I never would have thought either that putting Laphroaig, oh man, Laphroaig with a little bit of absinthe, it could probably use up to a 1/4 ounce of absinthe. I would probably put a little bit more absinthe in there just so you get a little bit more of that flavor, because the Laphroaig is so strong. I wonder if maybe just a couple of dashes of absinthe on top might help. Let's see. Oh yeah, because then you're getting the and the rosemary is actually a mint. Obviously, mint would be better garnish. So it's kind of like a julep. You know, this is like basically like a bourbon julep kind of a thing. But he used the single malt Scotch instead. It's a great flavor. It's very refreshing. Yeah, it's really well balanced. It's tart. It's got the tartness of the lime that comes through. If you like tart cocktails, it's not super sweet. There's a little bit of that sugar in there, but that's a very well balanced cocktail and a great use of Scotch. I should have made it. I sincerely apologize. We went with the original specs, and I used 2 ounces of Laphroaig, but I think if you had a strong sort of peaty blended Scotch, this Johnny Walker Double Black is like almost just as peaty as some of our single malts that that were mentioned. Mine, and then also Michael mentioned Ardbeg. That's another really super peaty, awesome Scotch, aged I believe 10 years. All right, let's move on to the next one. So we'll put Myra Breckenridge on the side. Good stuff. Feel free to move shit around if you want. All right, this next one is the Penicillin. The Penicillin cocktail is probably my what do you need? We don't have any. Well, we have these here. We have this. Yeah.
What is this called again?
That is called Myra Breckenridge. That is my taste testers are asking about it. That's a sex change operation for the Laphroaig. That's what he called it.
It tastes good.
It tastes good, right? Yeah. It's kind of shocking. Please God, I hope not. All right. Yeah. This better not encourage gender dysphoria in my lovely wife. Otherwise, I'll kick his ass. Okay. Moving on. So the Penicillin was created by Sam Ross. Sam Ross worked at New York's Milk and Honey, and then eventually opened his own place. And he had created a whiskey sour called the Gold Rush, which is so simple. It uses honey syrup and lemon juice and bourbon, and then and so he created this Gold Rush, and it was fantastic. But what he wanted to do is use blended Scotch, and they make in their restaurants, or in the bars, I should say, they make what's called this is honey ginger syrup. So I took fresh ginger and boiled it off with honey and water, and you get this honey ginger syrup. So if I had some fresh ginger, we could really do a ginger balm on this, but we're basically gonna follow the original specs. God, even just opening that up, you can really smell the ginger. The two things to make it really good is you've got to have Laphroaig. There's a little float of Laphroaig on top, which just makes it awesome. And if you can, to garnish it with the fresh ginger is amazing. You can also have candied ginger is the original specs, but we're just going to use lemon. Okay, so it's still going to taste really good. So here we go. We're going to start with 2 ounces of blended Scotch. I've also used. I love it. Just put it over there and leave me alone, would you? All right. So. I've made it a couple different ways. I've also made it with bourbon, which is basically a gold rush, but we're going to follow his original specs, and we're going to use a blended Scotch. So once again, he was doing a variation on his variation here, right? And this was the very first cocktail that I ever made on this show a year ago or whatever the heck that was. All right, 3/4 of an ounce of fresh squeezed lemon juice. I promise it's fresh. I squeezed it myself. All right, so we've got our. It is now. It is now. It's my word. All right, 3/4 of an ounce of our honey ginger syrup. Now, if you really want to go full gangster on this, take fresh ginger chunks, put them in first, then put your blended Scotch, and then take a wooden spoon, or if you have an actual muddler, and muddle the ginger in the Scotch, and then add the other ingredients. Your life will change. It is a beautiful.